All right. How are we doing, everybody? Looks like we are live. Great to be back. We are previewing the Super Bowl matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Great to be here, guys. And thank you to everyone for joining me on this midweek stream. We got John Jay from 49ers Ultimate Report in the house. For anyone who's here, if you haven't already, go and subscribe to 49ers Ultimate Report. I was on his channel yesterday. We had a really good conversation about the Super Bowl. A lot of good stuff there. So check that out. Check his channel because that was awesome. That was a really good time. And thank you, John Jay, for having me on yesterday. We got Beige Noir in the house. Let's go, Niners. Hell yeah, let's go. And we got DJ Gene, one of the OGs of the channel. Always great to have DJ Gene in the house. Huge fan of his, even though he's a Chiefs fan. That's okay. That's okay. We can deal with that. So yeah, we're talking Super Bowl 58, 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, it's a repeat of 4 years ago, and of course, we're hoping for a very different end result. Now, this matchup is very different from what we saw a number of years ago. I think that when we look at this matchup, we're used to seeing Kansas City with the high-flying offense and their defense being so-so. That's not the case anymore. The offense is one that churns out drives. They don't really get the huge splash plays typically, but their defense is top 5 in the NFL. Then you look at the 49ers, and as a 49ers fan, we're used to having really, really good defense, good run game, and just getting enough from the passing game. That's definitely changed. The offense is the powerhouse of this team. The defense really inconsistent. And if we're going to win Vince Lombardi trophy number 6 for the franchise, the defense is going to have to play a whole lot better. We got 49ers Ultimate Report in the house saying what's up. We got Chua Lore in the house. Hi, John. Hope you have a good day. Great to see everybody. Eric Dane in the house. What's up, One Chains? So hopefully all of you guys in the U.S., hopefully you're having a great lunch. It's probably lunchtime all across the U.S., wherever you're at, lunch, or maybe you're in work. So thank you for joining me. For those of you who have been able to, I know, look, it's a busy time of the week and it's a busy time of the day, but look, we're going to talk some 49er football, and as usual, if we have a crowd here, we'll maybe do a little bit of kind of fun games for the last 10-15 minutes of the stream. So when we look at this Super Bowl and my preview, if we take a look offensively, what do the 49ers need to do offensively to have some success against the Kansas City Chiefs? We got Peter Miller. How are we doing? So the first thing that the offense needs to do, and I don't think there's going to be any question about this, is we need to run the ball effectively. When you look at the teams who've had success in wins against the Kansas City Chiefs, they've been able to run the ball effectively. And when you look at some advanced stats, the matchups look pretty good for us. The Chiefs can struggle against outside zone runs. They can struggle when the offense runs to the left side of the offensive line. Hey, we got Trent Williams, best left tackle in football, Kittle, best blocking tight end in football, and Juszczyk, who's, like another George Kittle, basically. He great blocker, great lead blocker, and can also do a lot of other things in the offense. So I think being able to consistently stick with the run, and that's something that Shanahan, we haven't really seen that. If we look back to the game against the Packers, we came out throwing, didn't have the biggest success initially. Same thing with the Lions, but I think we have to dedicate ourselves to the run game. And even if it's not working that well, even if we're only getting 2 yards, staying ahead of the sticks against this defense is massive. Even getting 2nd and 8, 2nd and 7, that's so much better and so much different compared to 2nd and 10. So it's something that we're going to have to, there's going to be some ugly runs, but we just have to get through it because there are opportunities for this run game to really have some big plays. So we have a couple of people in here as well. Peter Miller in the house. Let's go. Carcast. Let's go. Good to see you, Carcast. And Laura says we need run more and pass less. I agree. I agree. Colin Page in the house. Let's go. Do you think we should make more use of Mitchell in the run game? That's a really good point. That's something that I wanted to bring up too. Look, this is the Super Bowl. You want to have your best players out for as many plays as possible. Something that I do think is critical when it comes to the Super Bowl, though, is you want to do what got you here. And for the 49ers, that's, of course, running the ball effectively. But I think it's always good in the Super Bowl to throw in just like a wrinkle or two that maybe other teams haven't seen before. So I think, to your point, Colin, I think what's maybe going to be something that I would like to see the 49ers do, maybe just for like 4 or 5 plays throughout the game, but maybe you come out in let's say a personnel package of maybe Purdy's in shotgun, and then you have Mitchell to one side and McCaffrey to the other side, and then you can split one of them out wide. The defense is not going to have a clue what we're going to be doing, whether it's a run play, pass play. There's so many different options because our players are so versatile. But I am a big fan of Elijah Mitchell. He's one of those guys where when, let's say, you think you're maybe going to get a 2-yard pickup, but he always seems to fall forward, pick up an extra couple yards. So you think it's going to be 2nd and 8. Then all of a sudden it's 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5. And that changes everything. Something that I really do like about Elijah Mitchell. It's great to have him back because he's a guy where in a lot of different situations, he can be really good. We saw against the Lions on the goal line, comes in just off the bench, hasn't played all game, and then bam, touchdown. So there's a lot of really good things, I think, in the run game. And to your point, Colin, I think we're going to see Elijah Mitchell maybe for like 5-6 plays. It's not going to be anything too significant, I would imagine, but I'd like to see him out there, even as maybe partially a decoy. Maybe we give him the ball. You know, if you have McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle out there, the defense is going to be like lasered in on those 4 guys, and maybe you can get the ball to Mitchell and their defense, you kind of catch them napping. A lot of different things you can do. The other thing when you watch the Chiefs is that they can be susceptible to some misdirection plays, and something where I think it's going to be really, really good for the 49ers is having a guy like Debo Samuel. I think we're going to use him in the run game pretty significantly. Maybe we fake a handoff to McCaffrey and then Debo gets it. Maybe we give it to McCaffrey, he then pitches it to Debo, a lot of different things. But I think we need to stress the Kansas City defense. You know, when you look at this Kansas City defense, their best player, Chris Jones, if you're going, normally I just say go north and south, but I think there's a lot of opportunities where you can kind of go sideline to sideline and then cut up field and have some big opportunities. Plus, you're forcing Chris Jones to have to run sideline to sideline. You kind of tire him out, wear him down, especially when he's going to be getting blocked by the likes of Trent Williams and all of these big bruising guys that we have on the offensive line. But I really do like what the 49ers are capable of doing in the run game. And I think it's something that we're going to have to absolutely stick with it throughout the course of the game. Even if early on we're not having the biggest success with it, we got to stick with the run game. It's going to set up plays later on with those misdirection plays, with play action. And that's something that we know that Kyle Shanahan loves to do. He'll call a couple of plays and it'll be run, and then he'll call another play, same formation, everything looks the same, but bam, play action, then there's a guy wide open deep. So that's something that I want to see too. And the big thing is when you play Kansas City, Steve Spagnuolo, he's known for blitzing and he has all these different blitz packages and whatnot. The key is to getting into good down and distance situations. If you can get into 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, that's going to limit what he can do in terms of what he can call defensively in terms of blitzing. Maybe they're like, we can't blitz, it's 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3. So if we're able to churn out those rushing yards, that really plays into our hands. The big thing that we have to avoid, of course, and this is like any game, but a big thing you have to avoid against Steve Spagnuolo are the negative plays, whether it's going to be, a false start, holding, a sack, even an incomplete pass. It's not the end of the world, an incomplete pass, but you got to try and always get yards, each play, get positive yards, get upfield. And that's something too, that if we want to kind of do an extension of the run game, something that I think that Purdy's going to have to do, which we saw him do it really well against the Lions, is you're going to have to see Brock Purdy use his legs. Some of the quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson a couple weeks ago had some success running the ball against Kansas City. The week before that, Josh Allen had some success running the ball against the Kansas City defense. And that's something that if Brock Purdy sees a lane for him to run, he can't be afraid to go ahead and do that. We know Brock Purdy loves to sling the football and throw it downfield, but I think some really good lessons that he would have taken from the Lions game is don't be afraid to use your legs and pick up those yards. Even if it's only 7-8 yards, that can be a difference between, keeping your drive going with a scoring drive or else having to punt the ball and give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. So with that being said, let's get into some of the comments here. We got Eric Dane in the house. How we doing, Eric? Good to see you, buddy. Running the ball also limits the Chiefs' possessions. Burn the clock and keep Mahomes onto the bench. Couldn't agree more. And if you can keep them, the Chiefs, on the bench a lot more often and for long periods of time, the offense just never really gets a chance to get in sync with one another. That's something that a lot of offenses, they really thrive off of those long drives and being able to, just have the ball consistently. And if they're on the bench for, 7-8 minutes of game time, that can just completely throw them out of sync. DJG and surprise plays or altered tactics. Yeah. At the end of the day, when it comes to the Super Bowl, the way, if it were me, of course, you want to do what got you there in the first place. The things that were successful, you want to do that. However, I think it's always good to throw in a few added wrinkles that the other team wouldn't have game planned for, that they wouldn't have seen before, so that really keeps the defense off balance. But I agree with you totally. Chad Schrader in the house. Good to see you, buddy. And thank you for subscribing to the channel yesterday. Very awesome of you. Thank you very much, buddy. And DJ Gene has still got to stop Pacheco. Yeah, we'll talk about what the 49ers defense needs to do. But I think offensively, it's such a key thing for running the football effectively and doing it in a lot of different ways to keep them off balance, even coming out with the same personnel packages, the same looks, but instead of just maybe handing it off to McCaffrey up the middle, you fake it to McCaffrey, Debo on an end around, and you have to keep these because the Chiefs defense is really good, but if you can keep them off balance, keep them guessing, and if they hesitate even for a second, that's going to allow a guy like Debo to turn maybe a 3-yard run into a 15-yard run. Same thing for McCaffrey. It's one of those things where you have to keep them off balance. We got Laura in the house saying we need to tackle and wrap them up. Just don't do like Chase Young did in the Lions game. Look, and I think Chase Young, of course, he got a lot of flack for there was a couple of plays where it looked like, his effort wasn't there. While I'm not going to disagree with that, I think the effort should have been a whole lot better. I'm not going to completely tear the guy apart because he did have some good plays against the Lions too. Let's go, bang, bang, Niner gang. Let's go, Forktail. And then we got my boy Stuart Bell in the house. I think Kyle will have a few surprises for us, and our D is not going to be caught off guard. The omens are looking good. In Brock we trust. Go Niners. Couldn't agree more with you, Stuart. It's one of those things where, I'm curious to see what Kyle might dial up in this game. A lot of times in big moments, we'll see Kyle do something a little bit differently, throw in a few wrinkles that we haven't seen before. Something that I find too when it comes to games, especially big games, is the first team to get to that trick play usually is the team where, like, let's say if the 49ers run a trick play, it's not as common that you'll see another team reply with a trick play, because then you have the team kind of on notice that, hey, we're running trick plays, we're going to be aware of trick plays, but we're going to need some big time games from a lot of players. It's the Super Bowl, of course. This is where the lights shine the brightest, where your big stars have to come and play. Before we move on to what we need to do on the defensive side of the ball, offensively, I think when it comes to, we talked a lot about running the football. Of course, you're going to run the football, a lot of different things. I think we'll have some success with the outside zones. McCaffrey, Debo, Purdy, again, needs to, when he sees an opportunity, if he sees a lane to get upfield and run with the football and pick up some yards, he has to do it. A key thing is just having that success on first down, where if you can get 5, 6, 7 yards, then you open up the playbook entirely, and it just keeps Spagnuolo out of his his bag. There's so many things where Steve Spagnuolo can just throw in so many exotic blitzes and you don't know where it's coming from. And he's really good at like disguising plays in terms of coverages, whether it looks like it's going to be man, then all of a sudden it's zone. But if you're in those good situations, it really just helps the offense go. But when it comes to passing the football, because of course we're going to have to pass the football too to have some success against Kansas City, ideally, it's going to be a case where when I look at it, there are opportunities underneath for players to make plays. And that's where I think you're going to potentially see some big games from a guy like Ayuk and Debo and Kittle, where these guys where they can get the ball underneath, they can break a tackle or two, and then take it upfield for a big gain. Like these are the Yak Bros, and this is the time where they can really live up to that name, where they can get the ball, give them a little space, and then if they can just break a tackle or two, bam, they're gone. Whether it's for a chunk game, whether they take it to the house, it is something that I'd like to see the 49ers do. It's not going to be easy to throw the football deep against Kansas City. They're not a team that gives up a lot of chunk plays. I know that Baltimore did have a big chunk play, that one where Lamar threw it to Zay Flowers, but then Zay Flowers had that taunting penalty at the end of it. Total breakdown in coverage. Great job by Baltimore in that game to get that playoff. But it's something that's going to be few and far between. So you have to really just be happy to take what the defense gives you. I don't think the one thing which I don't want to see is I don't want to see Brock Purdy forcing it into really tight coverage. I think it's a good thing to just, if you have to take the underneath pass where you get 6 yards to McCaffrey underneath, that's totally fine. That's absolutely okay. 2nd and 4, not a bad situation to be in. But this is where I think Purdy needs to distribute the ball and just get the ball into the hands of your playmakers. And luckily, we have a whole bunch of them. Let's get back to the chat. We got my boy Christian in the house. Let's go, Christian. Don't forget, guys, to drop a like on the stream and subscribe if you haven't already. But I'm guessing I recognize everyone here, so I know you guys are all subscribed. But if you can, drop a like. It'll really help out. So we got Bang Bang Niner Gang. I'm good, Christian. We're in the freaking Super Bowl, man. We're just a few days away from Super Bowl 58, 49ers. Ooh, I can't wait. This is going to be a good one. I can't wait to have everyone here for the Super Bowl as well. Let's go. Forktail, good to see. John J, absolutely. How do we stop George Karlaftis from attacking our interior offensive line, asks Lore. Well, it is one of those things where I know the 49ers offensive line. It's not like it's full of all pros. We do have one in Trent Williams, but I think our offensive line is pretty solid. Now, I think when it comes to one of the question marks, I mean, of course, people look at Colton McKivitz and they're not entirely sure. They're not entirely confident in him. And I'm not saying he's not like a Lane Johnson or what have you, but I think McKivitz is solid. What I really like is John Feliciano at right guard. I was a fan of Spencer Burford, and I'm not saying to write him off at all completely or anything like that, but I do think we're going to start off and you're going to see a lot more John Feliciano at right guard, just with that veteran experience in this big moment. He's the guy that I would go with. I think Brendel is an okay center. Feliciano, I think, has played pretty well when he's been in there. And then the left side, you got Aaron Banks, you got Trent Williams. So, but to go back to how do you stop George Karlaftis from attacking our interior? Well, that's where you can get those. When you get those plays, if you're running the ball effectively, it's really going to slow down those pass rushers. The other thing too is if you can get those, quick snap, throw it out quickly to Debo and whatnot, that's going to slow down and basically eliminate the pass rushers like a George Karlaftis. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. Also, you got Chris Jones, of course. And these guys, they're going to make plays throughout the course of a game. It's a long game. They're going to make some plays. You just don't want to have it be that critical play that really changes the game. But I think the Shanahan will have a good plan in place. But ideally, if you can run the ball effectively and if you can get the ball out of the hands of Brock Purdy pretty quickly too, that really just eliminates the pass rush. And that's where the creative play calling from Shanahan's going to have to come in. However, there are going to be times where it's going to be, let's say, Chris Jones, he gets a one-on-one matchup. There's going to be George Karlaftis, he gets a one-on-one matchup. And those guys on the offensive line are going to have to hold up. Maybe it's a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and it's going to take a number of seconds for the play to develop. That's where there's just one of those things, and these are the part of the game where you have to win those one-on-one battles. And that's the thing. If you can win them a lot more often than not, things usually work out pretty well. We got Ashton G in the house. Let's go, Ashton. Good to see you. How are we doing? We got hi, Christian. I'm going to go chalk that up as a spell check. There we go. Smoke 82 is in the house. Let's go, Smoke 82. We got 30 people in here. Let's go. On a Thursday afternoon. Love to see it. Drop a like, guys, while you're here. Anyone else think Young is getting some unwarranted hate? That Young is getting some unwarranted hate? I don't know. What happened with Young? I'm not too sure. We got Dad Vistator in the house. How are we doing, buddy? Good to see you. And let's move on now and talk about the 49ers defense, because I think we kind of know what to expect from the Niner offense, but the 49er defense, this is where I think it's going to be absolutely pivotal for the game as to how the 49ers defense comes out to start off the game. We've seen them come out to start off pretty darn slow when it comes against the Green Bay Packers. They started real slow against the Detroit Lions, where we were missing assignments, we were blowing coverages. It just wasn't good enough, and especially not going to be good enough when it comes to, let's say, looking at like what we need to do in order to slow down this Kansas City Chiefs offense. We got 30 viewers, and let's hit that like button. Let's go. Yo, 408 Bats. How are we doing, buddy? Good to see you. Young shouldn't be playing this bad. He's a former first-round pick, 2 years past an ACL injury. Yeah, I mean, look, Chase Young is definitely he's getting a lot of heat. I think because, he's a former, rookie defensive player of the year. You definitely, when he first came to San Francisco in that game against like Jacksonville, I think he had a sack in that game, or else he, maybe had half a sack, but he looked really explosive and looked like the missing piece to this defense. And the defense immediately, when he came in to the team, the defense stepped it up and like a big time. The defense was a lot better. And that's kind of faded away. Now, what I think that we're going to do, and this is something that I don't think we're necessarily going to do this, but this is something that I would consider doing, is that defensively, what we have to do against Kansas City is we have to stop the run, limit the run. We were getting gashed against the Packers in a lot of that game. Aaron Jones had a lot of big runs against the Lions, especially in the first half. They were getting 5, 6, 7, 10 yards a run. It just looked way too easy. So something that I would throw out there as a possible idea to help slow down the running attack of the Kansas City Chiefs is for the defensive line, if we come out with our 4 down linemen, but if we actually mix up the personnel a little bit, let's say if we come out with, you have Bosa, then you have Javon Hargrave, you have Javon Kinlaw, and maybe Eric Armstead on the end instead of up the middle. Eric Armstead played on the end a decent amount all the way back in 2019, but on more obvious rundown situations. He's been there, he's done that before. So if we want to maybe commit a little bit more to stopping the run, maybe you go with that, heavier, bigger defensive line, and that could ideally free up your linebackers, Warner and Greenlaw. Maybe it frees up, your safeties like Gibson or Brown or Logan Ryan or whoever's going to be playing to be able to, get those lanes and to stop the run for small gains. That's something that I would throw out there. Now, it is something that there is a 49er content creator. His name's Wayne Breezy, and I actually, he mentioned that maybe about a week ago or so, and I thought that was a really great idea. So I'm not going to take any kind of credit for that idea, but it is something that I would like to see the 49ers potentially try out when it comes to like your 1st and 10 or whatnot. Maybe it's even, let's say if it's like 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, maybe you have the bigger defensive line, and that really could allow your linebackers to make more plays. But just something to, something a little bit different. Again, just throw out a little bit of a different look that maybe Kansas City hasn't seen on tape before. So stopping the run and putting them into bad situations is going to be the big key, because if the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is kind of like a weird thing to say, but if you can force Kansas City to have to throw the ball a lot, and if you get them into, 2nd and long, 3rd and long situations, they have Travis Kelce, who, I don't care what anybody says, he's the best receiving tight end in football, and over the last 10, maybe 5-10 years, he's the best receiving tight end. So he's going to get his yards, and that's going to something that we obviously have to keep an eye on. He's someone we have to try and shut down. However, when it comes to, let's say, 3rd and long situations, the weakness of this team for Kansas City is their wide receiver group. I'm not saying that they're bad receivers, but they're not great. I mean, Rashee Rice is a pretty decent guy, but then you have guys like MVS, you have guys like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and Watson, I think, and these guys are not elite guys. They're not going to be Pro Bowl caliber guys, and we have some really good cornerbacks. So in Mooney Ward's playing great. Deommodore Lenoir playing great football. So I think that if we can get them into those longer situations by stopping the run, that really helps to play into our hands. And we have veteran guy like Tashawn Gibson in the secondary. We have a veteran guy like Mooney Ward, who's been in a Super Bowl before. We have our linebackers who can make plays. So if we can stop that run, that's something that we absolutely have to do. And I'm very comfortable. A lot of times, I think that the defense comes out in a zone defense, and it seems like the defense comes out a little passive, which I absolutely do not want to see when it comes to the Super Bowl. Let's say when it's Kansas City's first play on offense, I hope we have Mooney Ward and Lenoir right up there at the line of scrimmage, ready to press them, try and throw the receivers off their cover or off their routes, throw off their timing. Be aggressive and don't be afraid. Look, if you give up 1 or 2 big plays, fine, it's going to happen. But that can also happen when you play passively, or else when you're playing passively, you're giving up those 10, 15-yard chunk plays that we saw against Detroit. Whereas when we got a lot more aggressive, played a bit more man defense, then we had a lot more success getting them off the field. So I'd like to see us come out confident and aggressive on defense and really try and force them to have to make plays to their receivers. Again, this is not the best receiver group in the NFL. Let's get to some of the comments as well in the chat. Christian says, I know they are questioning his effort, Chase Young's effort, but checking the film a bit, he made some plays when the rest of the D, especially both, were missing assignments. Yeah, that's a good point too. There's no question about that. I think that Chase Young did make some really nice plays in the Detroit game. There were some plays where the effort wasn't there, and I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for him. I mean, you have guys like Steve Wilkes, you have a lot of the defensive personnel coming out themselves and saying, yeah, the effort wasn't amazing on all these plays. Which is a weird thing to say when it comes to an NFC championship game. So you'd like to think that in the Super Bowl, it's all gas, no brakes. When I think about a guy like Chase Young, he played, I think against Detroit, he played like over 50 snaps. I think Chase Young is more a guy that he plays maybe 30 to 35 snaps. I'd like to see Chase Young play. If you can give me 30 to 35, good plays as opposed to 56 kind of iffy plays, I'll take that any day. And there's a lot of different things, you can kind of do to mitigate that. Like, yeah, maybe we see a little bit more Randy Gregory. Maybe we see a little bit more of the defensive line that, I proposed with having, to help stop the run, with having Armstead on the end, Kinlaw and Hargrave in the middle, and Bosa on the other side. You never know. Stuart, we need to sack Patrick Mahomes. Couldn't agree more, Laura. It's not an easy thing to do, but if you can, and if you can rattle him a little bit, I'm all for it. Big thing, though, is when it comes to sacking, and I'm always afraid almost to sack Patrick Mahomes, is because we saw Baltimore do it, where Baltimore just got flagged for personal foul. We have to be really careful with that, because that's something that Kansas City just lives off of. When Mahomes, we know how Mahomes is, and he gets a lot of calls where he's throwing his hands up in the air and whatnot. I'm going to try and call those flags. 408 Bats is hoping Ward pick off Patrick, his ex-teammate. That would be awesome. Yeah, if Mooney Ward had an interception on Patrick Mahomes, the former Chief, now with the 49ers, that would be a special moment, no question about it. Stewart says, what about going with 5 linemen? I'm guessing 5 down linemen, D linemen. That's an interesting idea. And that is something that maybe we could play around with. I don't know if we'll run it a whole lot, just because that's, definitely a departure from what we've done all season and, what this defense is used to doing. But yeah, imagine if you had a D line with like Bosa on one end, maybe you have Young or Gregory on the other end, and you have Kinlaw, you have Hargrave and Armstead in the middle. Pretty interesting. And then you have Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw as your linebackers. Not bad. It's an interesting idea. Maybe they implement it a little bit, but I don't think you'll see a ton of it in the Super Bowl just because it's not something that this defense has really done a whole lot of. Ultimate Bro, I'm super delicious. George Kittle is the best. I would agree with that. George Kittle is the best all-around tight end, but strictly as a receiver, I mean, Travis Kelce is just unbelievable. I have to give credit where it's due. Chiefs receivers have had a few hands of stone games. That's true. And look, this Chiefs offense is not it's not the same as what we're used to. It's not as explosive. Like, the offensive line isn't as good as years past. Their weapons aren't as good as years past, but they're still the Kansas City Chiefs, still Andy Reid calling the plays, and still Patrick Mahomes throwing the football. So they're going to be a dangerous team. There's a lot of different things that the defense needs to do. I think, if you can slow down the run game, put them into longer situations, and you force their receivers to have to beat, even if we're manning up and man coverage with Mooney Ward, with Lenore, that's definitely, I think that will really play into the hands of the 49ers. Forktail says, I'm pretty confident because even with Jimmy G, the big plays were there to be had. Jimmy G just didn't make the throws. Kyle set the plays up perfectly. Jimmy G definitely missed a lot of big plays in his time with San Francisco, and Purdy is a lot better at that. I think with Purdy he just has to take what the defense gives him. I think especially early on, getting settled into the game. Let's say he's thinking, okay, maybe Ayuk is kind of open, I don't know, or else and that could be potentially a big game, but also it could be an interception, or else if you have McCaffrey open up underneath and he can get you 7 yards and first down, I think especially early in the game, I think you take McCaffrey, get the 7 yards, live to see another down, and you're in a really good situation. So whatever the defense gives you, I think just take it. And there's going to be times, where maybe what the defense is going to give you is one-on-one coverage down the field. And we know Ayuk, great route runner. We know Deebo Samuel can do his thing really physical. George Kittle can also do his thing. And maybe there are going to be opportunities to throw it deep. And don't be afraid to take a shot when that's there, but just don't force it, I would say. Laura says, my question is, can Ambry Thomas play a clean game because the Chiefs will target it? I have no doubt that the Chiefs will target him. I think that what I'd like to see, is maybe, ideally, Ambry Thomas can maybe get, matched up with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS, just because, Scantling is a speedster, and so is Ambry Thomas. Ambry Thomas is a really, really fast cornerback. So if you can kind of get him matched up there, I think that would be a pretty decent matchup for the 49ers. Then you have guys like Rashee Rice, a little bit more physical. That's where maybe you'd want a guy like a Lenore or a Mooney Ward lined up over Rashee Rice. But look, Ambry Thomas, he's had some really good games. Of course, he's had some absolute blunders. You look at the Green Bay game, that was not good. Bounced back, and I thought he was okay against Detroit. But he needs to have a big game. And Ambry Thomas has played in some big games for us, in playoff games and whatnot. And he had a lot more time to prepare for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. So hopefully, he can step up and have a big game because, he's going to get tested. There's no question about that. Maybe they rotate Gregory more. Completely agree. KC team, it's basically a dueling team. Players mentally conditioned by Spagnuolo. Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's something that I've seen a lot of where, Kansas City, their defense, especially in the second half of games, is amazing. I think they only give up about 7 points 7 points they average only giving up 7 points in the second half of games this season. And that is one of those things where you look at Kansas City, because they have so many different blitz packages, and they're constantly doing, different coverages, and they'll mix up man, and there's a lot of different zone coverages they'll do. They'll have different blitzes coming from left, right, center, wherever, anywhere. And it really just wears down a quarterback. It wears down an offensive line as the game goes on. Now, the one way to really counter that is if you're running the football effectively, then you don't really, the offensive line and especially the quarterback don't have to think as much, and mentally it won't be as taxing if you can get those nice chunk plays on the ground. Something that when I looked at the Baltimore game, and I've watched the full game a couple of times, Baltimore and Kansas City, is I just couldn't believe how little the Ravens ran the football. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of the Baltimore Ravens, it's running the football. And they had some success doing it, but they just went away from it. and that's not their game, and that played right into the hands of Kansas City, and it's something a little bit weird to see. Yarky says, I want to thank you again for calling this season. Oh, my pleasure, Yarky. And thanks for being here. And thank you, everyone, for being here, whether it's tonight, whether it's throughout the course of the season. And look, it's been a long season. It's been a really fun season, a lot of really fun games. And look, we're in the freaking Super Bowl. 30 fan bases, 30 other teams want to be where we are. So let's, we have to savor this moment. And look, just a few days away till game time. It's going to be awesome. And hopefully you guys will be here with me for it. But yeah, it's going to be great. Please, Steve Wilks, don't use wide 9 against the Chiefs. I think we're going to mix it up a little bit. Something that's really key, too, is going to be if we can disguise our coverages. We did a pretty good job of that against Detroit, where it looks like we're in man coverage, and then snap is away, and then suddenly we drop into a zone defense, and that gives our pass rush a little bit more time to get there. It looks like Joe Thuney, their all-pro, Pro Bowl guard, he's going to be out for the Super Bowl. The right side of the offensive line for the Chiefs is okay. You look at Jawan Taylor, their right tackle. He's the most penalized offensive lineman in the NFL. So ideally, with Bosa lined up over him, you're thinking, damn, there should be at least 1 or 2 holding calls called against the right tackle. Throughout the game, Trey Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs, the right guard, he got called for a couple of holding plays against the Ravens. And we have some good interior guys. So mixing it up, keeping them guessing, and giving our chance for our D-line to get back there is going to be awesome. It's going to be key. We just got to do it. Christian says, Wilks needs to mix up a bit, though, because teams are able to game plan. Yes, and that's the thing. Well, something that Steve Wilks, I think, is really good at. He's really good at making adjustments throughout the game. There's so many games throughout the year where the defense kind of struggled in the first half, but then they bounced back and were really good in the second half. I mean, you look at the game against Detroit, the defense got a lot better in the second half. I think all the way back to week 2 against the Rams. The Rams in the first half were really, really good. Then in the second half, we kind of shut them down. And that's happened a number of times throughout the season. So Wilks is good at making adjustments. Ideally, we can just have a good game plan going into it. So, we don't have to make all these crazy adjustments. But yeah, it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. Forktail, Shifty, 3 tight ends on early downs to pound Kansas City defense. I don't know if I'd go 3 tight ends. I mean, I think you could kind of go like a de facto 3 tight ends where maybe you have Kittle, Werner, and maybe Juszczyk is out there with McCaffrey, and then you have like Ayuk or Debo or someone out there, as like a wide receiver. So I don't think it'd be de facto 3, but I think you run a little bit of it. Throw a lot of different looks at Kansas City, and then you see how they respond to those different looks, and then you can call plays later in the game to counteract that. So, but yeah, if you throw out a different, let's say different formation, different personnel packages that they haven't seen, that they haven't game planned for, yeah, they could cause them to hesitate for a second, maybe be that second slow, a step slow, and then we can break it for a big game. You never know. But I don't hate the idea by any means. The real question is, can Greenlaw keep it? Oh God, Greenlaw, I feel like, yeah, if there's a bet for Greenlaw is going to get a personal foul called against at some point. It's just going to happen. Super Bowl, baby. Let's go. Thank you, John Jay. Remind people to hit that like button. Let's go. Strategically, Edgard says KC always play equally and trap start with Kelsey and players. Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to try, and that's what they did against Baltimore. At least they tried to, is to try and win like the mental aspect of the game before the game even starts. I don't think the Niners are going to let that happen. I think the Niners, we're not afraid. We're not going to back down either. I mean, we see how physical guys like Jawan Jennings and Brandon Ayuk, and these guys are not afraid to mix it up a little bit, but I don't think we'll let it, affect us mentally, how we're prepared for the game. So many, of course, similar to Kansas City, but a lot of our players have been in big games, have been in a Super Bowl before, so they kind of know what it takes. Yeah, let's go, Jay Frank. Let's go. Steve Schaefer says 49ers D-line up like a wide load truck could run through the spaces. Just one double team against anyone. The D-line almost guarantee it's a big run. It's almost always 6 or more. O-line versus well, that's a good point, Steven. There's also, let's say when you look back at the Lions game, and they were getting a lot of big chunk plays, but I think the Lions did a good job at targeting Oren Burks. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of Oren Burks in this game. He was targeted a lot. He was late for a lot of his assignments because it's a gap defense where we have to hit our lanes, you have to hit your gap against the run, and he was late a lot. Now, the one play that really has got the 49ers in trouble defensively is when the offense runs that toss play out and you have guys kind of come down and do that crack block. That's really given the 49ers a lot of issues. And we saw Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions. He had a touchdown run in the first half against the 49ers. Look, and that was the kind of the really infamous play where you see a lot of guys kind of maybe only giving half effort. But if you look at that, it is a play where Tashaun Gibson, and I am a big Tashaun Gibson fan, but he completely missed the tackle on Gibbs. I don't know what he was doing on that play. And I honestly think that maybe a potential partial excuse for some of the guys maybe not giving full effort is they would have expected Gibson to just make that tackle, and he completely whiffed on Gibbs. So a little, just something to keep an eye on. But look, I think then we have to adjust, Steve, and it's one of those things too, where look, if they have 6 whatever guys on the offensive line, and we have 4, maybe you commit more linebackers down there, but it's one of those things where we're going to have to make plays. And you have Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead. You have guys, first round picks, and Hargrave, a big money free agent. These guys have to make plays. If they have a one-on-one matchup, they have to beat them. There's going to be time. Look, they're not going to win every rep on every single down, but they have to win more frequently than what they have been. Fortail says, is Willie Gay on schedule to play for Kansas City? I think he is, because I just checked yesterday. I checked the Kansas City Chiefs injury report, and I didn't see him on there. Now, I know he missed the AFC Championship game, but I didn't see him on there, so I'm going to assume that he's good to go. But if anyone else has any more information on, because Willie Gay is a really good linebacker, if anyone else has any more information on that, then feel free to drop it in the comments. Am I streaming the Super Bowl? Hell yes, I am, Smoke82. I'm going to be here for the Super Bowl. Let's go. Just a few days away. Can't wait. Super Bowl, baby. Come on, let's go. Ooh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be off the hook, and can't wait for the game. Can't wait. Can't wait to see our guys do our thing. We are in the show, says Beige. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. We need to play tight in the secondary and force Mahomes to release the ball quick. We have the talent to beat these guys. Let's hope the gods smile on us. Can't wait, Niners, says Stuart Bell. And that's the thing too. When I look at matchups that I love our matchups with Mooney, Ward, and Lenore on their receivers. Now, look, Patrick Mahomes is going to have some really nice throws. We all know that's going to happen. Andy Reid is going to dial up some plays that maybe kind of mess with our coverage package, and they're going to have passing yards. You're never going to completely shut anyone down ever in an NFL game, unless you play the New York Jets offense. But, it's one of those things too, where I like those matchups. And I think if they can win more often than not, or if they can even force Mahomes to have to sit back in the pocket for an extra second and a half, and you give Bosa more time. And here's something that, look, we know that like a lot of head coaches, and we know that Kyle Shanahan, he's going to be in the ear of the officials saying, and I think everyone's going to be like, keep an eye on right tackle Jawan Taylor, because Nick Bosa is going to be across from him, and he's going to be holding Nick Bosa on damn near every down. Of course, you're not going to call it on the flag on every down, but keep an eye on that, because that could be some really big game-changing plays right there. And they're going to make sure the officials are keeping an eye on that, no doubt about it. Need D to score. That would be awesome if we can get a defensive score or even like a special team score. I mean, we never get those. Edgard says, and also observed Kansas City in past games, 80% had super difficulties for the win and childhood defeats. There we go. Drew, I'm just happy to be here. Let's go. Over under says 49ers Ultimate Report, 100 total yards for CMC. I would go over. I would go the over on that. Now, I don't know. I would go the over. Overall, I would go the over for 100 yards, but I don't know if it'll necessarily break down the way that you're saying it. Like maybe he has 80 rushing yards and 20 receiving yards, but I would go the over for total yards. Will we put Debo on kick returns? I don't know. That's a good question. I think maybe we will put Debo on kick returns. I mean, the way the NFL is these days, you barely get a chance to return kickoffs anyways. So maybe you do Debo on kickoff returns and you have Ray McLeod on punt returns. That would be my guess. It's a tough call. Brian Culp is in the house. Let's go, everybody. And everybody here, we got 28 people here. Thank you. Go ahead, smash the like button on the stream. Also go and check out, while you're here, go and check out Brian Culp's channel real quick. He does a whole bunch of 49er content. Go and subscribe to his channel. It's free. It only takes a second. And also 49ers Ultimate Report. Go to his channel and subscribe to, because look, it's the Super Bowl time, baby. Everyone's doing shows and it's just, it's the best time of the year to be a 49er fan. So go and show some support to the content creators. And look, I think we all want as much 49er content as we can get right now. So that'll really help out doing that too. Christian says, how loud am I going to whisper on Sunday? It's going to be loud. All right. It's going to be loud. It's going to be loud. If things go the way that I want them to go, then I'll be yelling and screaming, not whispering. I'll put it that way. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights in the house. Let's go, Daniel Barry. Good to see you, buddy. How you doing? And Edgar Bryant. Yeah, let's go. Laura says over under Brock Purdy passing yards 248. Oof, that's a good one. Let's see. I'm gonna say slightly under. I'll say like 240, 245. Slavic Niner, just subscribe. Let's go. Thank you, Slavic Niner. Hell yeah, let's go. Dad Vistator says the Whisper Storm. Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen my play-by-play, just because of where I live, the games are always on really late. So instead of like yelling and screaming, I kind of have to whisper scream where it's like a let's go, let's go. That's a little reenactment, of yeah, Laura, I would say slightly under, but I don't think that's a bad thing if we're slightly under in those passing yards. I think that could be a good thing, where ideally that means we're running the ball really effectively and we don't have to pass the ball a lot. And maybe that also means that we're playing with a lead. If Brock Purdy has to throw for 350 yards, my guess is that things have kind of gone a little bit sideways. I know that you're just asking over under for 248, but I think if he's way over, then it's maybe not the game plan that we would have wanted. So I think he goes maybe like 240, 245 yards. But ideally, he's being really efficient, not turning the ball over, and just being smart with it. And ideally, he can also pick up some yards with his legs too. But over under 1.5 times you put on the chain. Oof. Let's go over. I'm going to say 2 times. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean, I really want to put the chains on when it comes to the Super Bowl. Ideally, a number of times would be awesome. But yeah, and I think something too, because I had some notes here written for the preview defensively, and I think you guys hit on it a number of times. Look, I think we need to play aggressive. Don't be afraid on the first drive to come out, first play on defense, yet to have Mooney Ward, to have Lenore just right up there on the receivers, ready to bump them or ready to make a play. Something that Kansas City, I noticed they love to do, is they love to just really quick, short passes in space, which is going to force our guys to have to tackle really, really well. The first guy there is going to have to make a tackle. I have a lot of faith in Lenore. I have faith in Mooney Ward. I have faith in Warner, some faith in Greenlaw as well, but it's going to be a game where we cannot miss tackles. We have to be sure tackling. It's I'm not a huge fan. I know a lot of players want to make the big play and they'll try and punch the ball out. But instead of wrapping up, and I think you have to try and wrap up with the tackle, and then that second guy who comes in then tries to punch the ball out. But we got to be sure tackling in this one. Kansas City, they look for those kind of mistakes, and they can really feast on them. Miss Pittsburgh's in the house. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, I know you're a Steeler fan. I can see that picture, and you've been around Miss Pittsburgh. You've been around the channel quite a bit, so thank you very much for wishing us Niner fans good luck, and the Niner team good luck in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm so thankful for the 49ers for making it to the Super Bowl, and for just making all the 49er fans really, really proud, and for a great year. And hopefully we can end it off with the ultimate prize. And that would just be something really special that 49er fans have been longing for almost 30 years now. So hopefully we can finish it off. But yeah, if you guys have any more comments, questions, do feel free to drop them in the chat. John LaHoy, let's go. Let's go. Come on. Drop them in the chat. I'll be sticking around for a few more minutes, maybe 5 or 10 more minutes, and then I'll be heading out of here. But just before I potentially forget, just want to thank everyone for being here for this live stream, kind of leading up and previewing the game against this Kansas City Chiefs. With regards to the live stream that we're going to be doing for the Super Bowl, the game, I'll probably be going live minimum 30 minutes, potentially an hour before the game, so we can really dive into the game a little bit more. And we'll dive into a preview just before the game actually starts. So we'll be going live, about maybe 30 minutes to an hour before the start of the Super Bowl. And it's still crazy to say that it's like we're in the Super Bowl. Moody is legit. Moody will shock the world. I want Moody to do his thing, and that'll be nice. Look, if we can get him, whether it's an easy field goal, whether it's if we score a touchdown and it's an extra point, just get him an easy kick just to let him settle the nerves a little bit. Yarky says, no worries. I think the defense has been saving up for the big game. I believe it's going to be a rollover. I love your confidence. I wish I could, I have a lot of confidence in our team, but I also know that Kansas City are a very good team as well. So should be a really good matchup. It should be a really good matchup. And you have some of the best offensive minds in the game. You have some of the best players in the NFL playing in the game on the biggest stage. So I'm looking forward to it. If the Niners win, I'll be screaming, DJ. Don't you worry. I'll be yelling and screaming if the Niners win. I don't care if people call the cops on me or people tell me to shut up, because, yeah. Oh, God, so excited. Oh, so excited. Just a few days away. Man, I can't wait. After the whole season, there was ups and downs. Like the Niners season started off so great, 5 wins in a row. Then we go through a slump, lose 3 in a row, come back out of the bye, and we're just as hot as anything. Trip up a little bit against Baltimore. That was a tough game. We lose against the Rams at the end of the season, which really just doesn't, even that game was a nothing game. But wow, what a season, just filled with so many amazing moments. Are you getting on the Guinness Sunday night? Oh, I'll drink some Guinness. I'll definitely have some beers when it comes to Sunday night, the Super Bowl. Yeah, I'll have some beers for sure. And yeah, maybe I'll have a couple, some Guinness as well. That'd be cool. It's a lovely day for a Guinness. All right. Miss Pittsburgh says, good luck, Niners. And then Thomas, greetings, Shifty and everyone. Greetings, Thomas. Great to see you, buddy. Great to see you as always. Love having you in the chat and love seeing, your comments as well on the videos and stuff. And you're a good guy, Thomas. I like your style. Fortail says, I'm a fan of the low-key celebration, but if you get turned up, I'm here. Yeah, it'll be wild. Hopefully now it can be something that I'm going to say is I'm going to be like, let's say leading up to the Super Bowl, as in the hour and just moments before kickoff, I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to be nervous. I can't even imagine the players and everyone, but I'm going to be nervous. But I kind of just almost want the game to just start already, But can't wait. It's Mardi Gras weekend. I got one big parade coming by me on Saturday. All my neighbors will be asleep Sunday anyway, so they don't care if it's I'd imagine, yeah, New Orleans. Beautiful city that I'd love to visit during Mardi Gras. That'd be fun. My goodness, my Guinness. I love those old school Guinness advertisements. They're the best. Times they showed Taylor Swift over. Oh, definitely over. Definitely over 3.5. I would say a better, if I were Vegas, I'd probably put it at like 5.5. Shifty, how much do you think Kyle has improved as a coach since the last Super Bowl? That's a good question, Eric. Wow, Steven Castro, thank you so much. We have Steven Castro with the $4.99 out of nowhere. Love to see it. This is the second year in a row that Tashaun Gibson made a critical play in the playoffs. He's someone to look out for at the Super Bowl. Couldn't agree more. I'm a big fan of Tashaun Gibson. And remember, in this stadium, Allegiant Stadium, the Raider Stadium, just 1 year ago, Tashaun Gibson had the interception in overtime against the Raiders to get that big win for the 49ers. So this is a stadium that he's played in before and had some big plays. Thank you. Huge shout out to Steven Castro in the chat. Thank you so much. That's super kind of you. But I do think that Kyle Shanahan is a better coach now than what he was in 2019. It's kind of, I'm trying to articulate why I think he's a better coach, but I just think he has a better understanding not only of the offense, but of the team and what the team really needs. I think maybe back then, and especially maybe in his first couple of years, he kind of thought he was just like, I'm the offensive guy and defense, Robert Saleh, and you guys worry about the defense. Whereas I think now, and you hear from a lot of players, that Kyle Shanahan's more involved when it comes to like the defensive meetings. He's someone who like the players really like, they really respect him. You're talking players from like guys like, Nick Bosa and Trent Williams. Like Trent Williams has been around the league a long time, who's, one of the best players in the NFL, if not the best player in the NFL. And he has that respect for Kyle Shanahan. But I think the Shanahan, something that the big thing with Shanahan, the big hurdle is winning the big game. Of course, look, we won a lot of playoff games, but can he win the Super Bowl? Can he get the monkey off his back? Like Steve Young said all those years ago. I think it's something a little bit that, that Kyle Shanahan has to deal with. Again, a huge shout out to Steven Castro. Thank you so much for the $4.99. That's so awesome of you. Thank you, Steven. But I do think he's improved in a lot of ways. I think you see it when you look at the offense this year, when he's, finally got himself a quarterback. And when you see Shanahan, this is how you know he's a good coach, is the last 2 years that we've had a quarterback fully healthy from the start of the year to the end of the year, we've made it to the Super Bowl. He's made the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is just, he's been a nightmare in Las Vegas, benched for like a 4th round rookie. And the fact that Kyle Shanahan was able to get Jimmy Garoppolo playing at a high level is really impressive. And then you look at this year. I mean, Ayuk career year, 1,400 or 1,300 receiving yards. McCaffrey, just 20-something touchdowns, just ridiculous numbers. Kittle, just being able to spread the ball out. But I think a big thing for Kyle Shanahan is maybe just kind of being more of like a head coach as opposed to like an offensive coordinator. Great show, buddy, and shout out to the Shifty chat for the support. Yeah, shout out to all the support. Thanks for everyone for being here. I'm going to be heading out of here momentarily, but we'll get to a couple more comments before we do. Smoking a pork butt for the Super Bowl. Nice, Bryant. I'm jealous. Iko says, Shifties, after how many years again? My chief is meeting you guys again. This is going to be a big dogfight. I guarantee you. We got it. There we go. Look, I think it's going to be a really good game. As you said, I think it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be really fun. Hopefully it's like, an exciting game. Hopefully the 49ers win and come away with, number 6 Vince Lombardi trophies. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be a good game. I think you're right. Tampa Bay shut Mahomes out. I hope the defense has been watching that Super Bowl film. There's no doubt to me that they will be watching some of that, but I think they'll more likely, and they'll watch, and look, all the defensive coaching and the staff they have, they will have analyzed that. But I think you're probably looking at a lot of the games this year because the personnel is so different. That was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, wasn't it? That Super Bowl. But 408 bats, wow. Damn. Thank you so much, 408 bats, for the $10 super chat. For good luck, and you won't be able to listen, but I will try, bro. Oh, you won't be able to listen. I hope you can, 408, because you've been here all season long, and you've been a great person to have in the chat. Huge shout out to 408 bats for the $10 super chat. That's so freaking kind and generous of you. Thank you so much for that. Greatly appreciate that, man. That's awesome. Thank you. Let's give a shout out to 408 bats in the chat. But I think what you're going to see is the number of the games where the Kansas City offense struggled. And you're going to see, what did the Ravens do last week against the Chiefs in the second half to slow them down? The Raiders beat the Chiefs earlier this year. The Green Bay Packers beat the Chiefs. Like, what did these teams do to have success against Kansas City, to slow their offense down, but also to put up points offensively? There's a lot of different things to look at. And so you're going to look at, and then you're also going to look at games where maybe defenses struggle to slow down Kansas City. And what did they do wrong? What did they do to exploit the weaknesses of those defenses? And how do you avoid falling into those traps? So look, it's one of the Super Bowl. You have all this extra time to prepare. But that's why a lot of times I think in Super Bowl, maybe like the defenses kind of start out a little bit stronger just because they've done all that preparation. But, it's going to be good. Oh, man. As DJ Gene says, it's the final countdown. I'm still in Cowgirls territory. Yikes. Yeah, the Cowboys just not great. The Cowboys just really struggle when it comes to the big games and the playoffs. And huge shout out to 408 bats. Huge shout out to Steven Castro as well for the earlier super chat. You guys are amazing. I can't wait for Sunday. So I will be going live minimum, and you'll see I'll post the link for the stream in the next day or two. I'll be going live minimum 30 minutes before kickoff. Ideally maybe an hour before kickoff, so we can really get pumped up for the Super Bowl. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to be great. This game might come down to the running by the quarterbacks. Yeah, that is something that Patrick Mahomes, he's capable of doing it. We've seen it a lot of times. And if he runs, you have to be careful how you hit him, because the refs are just always itching to throw a personal foul flag whenever anybody breathes on Patrick Mahomes. So got to be careful with that. Rick Diaz, hello, my friend. It's okay. You're in a different country. It's okay. We still have faithful family. Everybody's anxious. Yeah. And the fact that we're anxious, that means that we really care. So I always take that as a good thing. It means that we really care about, the team. We care about this game. So it's a good thing. That's always a good thing. I try to look positive on things. Let's freaking go. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Let's go. Do it for the Bay, baby. Let's go. Come on. Oof, getting pumped up. Just a few days away, ladies and gentlemen, just a few days away. Well, everybody, I want to say a huge thank you. We have 30 people in the stream. Huge thank you for all the likes. Again, a huge shout out to 408 Bats and Steven Castro for the super chats. Thank you guys for hanging out here for this hour or so. For your questions, your comments, love reading them, love seeing them. Really appreciate you guys. I'm going to head on out of here. It's getting late. I got work in the morning. But the next time I see you guys, it's going to be Super Bowl Sunday, and I can't wait. Stuart Bell says, what do you think about the refs? Honestly, I like the refs that we had against the Lions. I hope that the refs stay out of it as much as possible. I hope that they only call like egregious fouls. Anything ticky-tacky, I hope they don't call that. And I'm saying both ways. Like if it's a really obvious, really obvious holding, really obvious, crazy, personal foul or whatever, then you call it. But otherwise, I think that you have to, I hope that the refs keep the flags in their pocket as much as possible. Please, Fred, talk to Greenlaw. Oh God. Yeah. Greenlaw. I guarantee, if there's a bet that I would put on, and I'm not a betting man, but if there was, I would bet on Greenlaw getting flagged for a personal foul penalty at some point in the game. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate all of you. Maybe Shifty should sleep with the chain under his pillow. We'll see about that. We'll see. But thank you so much, guys, for being here for this preview video again. Check out, you'll see the link pop up in the next day or two for the Super Bowl. We'll go live 30 minutes, maybe an hour before the kickoff in the Super Bowl. That's the next time I'll see you guys. You know, stay tuned. There's a whole bunch of 49er content creators doing some real good work this time of year. So check them out if you can. Even dropping them a quick like, a quick subscription. Always greatly appreciated. But thank you very much, guys. I will see you on Super Bowl Sunday. Everybody, have a great day. Have a great weekend. It's going to be a good one. Super Bowl 58, baby. But before I go, you know, there's a couple of things I'm going to say. The butt counts. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. And Greenlaw, get down, you idiot. Greenlaw, get down. Love it, guys. Thank you so much. Peace out.